Hey guys, Jeff Francoeur here. Thanks for listening to our content, and please like and subscribe. Before we get to the podcast, if you have middle school or high school kids that play sports and you don't want to fundraise like me, we got you covered. My buddy Chris Carneal owns Booster. Chris?
We help schools and sports teams raise funds in a super fun and engaging way. In fact, the last 22 years, we've raised $750 million, and we can't wait to help you. Choose booster.com.
Hey guys, back here on Pure Athlete, Jeff Francoeur, along with these two old guys right here. And
relentless.
Yeah, always. But we just had Brandon Geyer on, and he was awesome.
He was
I'm
awesome.
telling you, I know, you know, it's become such a prevalent thing in our sport, but the mental aspect of it and all that, because I will tell you right now, if there's one thing in my career, if I could go back, and I think I've said on here before, that side I would love to attack more. Just the ability, having the utensils to go out there and calm myself in big situations. Because like I said, there's numerous times, 30 seconds in a bat, it was like it went over before I could even really know what the heck was going on. And I just think that he brought some great things in today about how to relax yourself in any sport you play. I know he works a lot with baseball and softball, but this can be in any sport, and to allow the best version of yourself to come through.
Well, and when did you first start struggling with any mental? Because
God,
a lot of kids don't, because they just have nothing but success.
Yeah. No, I think when you're younger, it's not as bad, but I would definitely say when you get to high school and stuff, there's areas, and I think it's in different sports too. You know, we've talked about the pressures of golf and tennis because they're individual sports. You know, in team sports, sometimes you might have a bad game, but your team wins. It's a little easier to swallow. But when you're by yourself, so I think it's great. I think a lot of what he said today, I told you I'm going to take to my practices, because I do think, look, kids might not grasp it to the full extent of what he's saying, but I definitely think there's some stuff in there that kids can understand.
Well, he talked about it. It's, you know, he talks, his story was great because he said he really, going into his senior year of high school, he really struggled as a baseball player. And then it kind of unlocked the key to what he thought cause of his struggles, which was the mental side of things. And then he just kind of developed these exercises. So it didn't happen overnight, but it's something he kept having to do through college and even the pros. And then it created this expertise in him that he wanted to share with so many other kids, especially in baseball, because it's such a game of failure. It's so relevant. I think our parents and our kids are going to love listening to this, and they're going to learn a lot from this.
Yeah.
So Brad, you're an AD, so you see a whole bunch of kids, all different types of kids. I mean, it's true that like tons of kids wrestle with negative mindset, right?
I can't even quantify how many kids in so many sports. And it's also the tough thing about sports, and the wonderful thing about sports is how important it is to these kids. So if they're struggling in their particular sport, it's not only affecting their happiness in that sport, it's affecting their happiness in life. Because it's really, as you're a high school kid or you're a middle schooler or elementary schooler, I mean, your baseball games, your football games are the most important things to you right then.
Yep.
And if you're struggling with failure, struggling with confidence or anxiety, whatever it is, it's affecting your whole life. And so, yeah, when they get older, it's not going to be as important. But as a parent of a kid who's gone through this, if you can help them enjoy that sport, enjoy the processes he talked about, it's going to make them happier in other areas of their life too.
Yeah, and I think this 2 weekends ago we had a softball tournament, and we had been Emma Kate. We had worked on all this different stuff hitting, and it got to the game, and I started yelling at her, not screaming at her, but yelling at her, kind of what to do. But yet there were a couple other parents, one of the other coaches was too, and I felt so convicted because I looked over and I was like, she can't even breathe. She can't even concentrate right now. She's got 1,000 things going through her head. And I was like, there's no way she's having fun.
Yeah, you weren't wearing the shirt, were you?
You weren't wearing it. Pure Athlete.
Oh, no, I had all my gear on. I'm like, listen to our podcast. But I did. I felt convicted right away, saying I'm not even giving my kid the best chance to succeed because I'm sitting here telling her all this stuff. And so I love Brandon. And if you listen to it, he talked about having like a one word to kind of lock you back in. He talked about taking a deep breath. And he says something at the very end that I'm not going to tell you because you got to watch, but I think it might be one of the most powerful things I've heard.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was really great. I would just say to parents, and I just say this because I'm done and I wish I could go back on this, but if your kid has a negative mindset, you'll see it when they're 8. And you may think they're going to grow out of it, but I would say embrace finding out about some of these tools and get your kid involved in that, because the sooner they learn how to flush things and learn how to get over that negative mindset, like you said, it translates into all of life. I wish I'd done it earlier.
Well, make sure you watch. Hope you enjoy. Welcome back to Pure Athlete. I'm Jeff Francoeur along with Britt Lee and Brad Williams. Guys, I'm excited about our guest today. Like anything, I'm always excited when a baseball guy comes on here with us. But a guy who I think is doing incredible things in the industry. So played college baseball at Virginia, 7-year big leaguer, is the founder of Major League Mindset and works with the Angels, Virginia, and Houston. Brandon Guyer, thank you for coming on with us, man.
Hey, thank you all for having me. Right back at you guys. What you all are doing is needed, and it's an honor to be asked to join, so thank you.
Before we dig into your youth sports story and a little bit of this stuff, kind of share some what you're doing right now with Major League Mindset and helping out.
Yeah, so when I retired in 2020, it was, I feel like I still could have played, but it was one of those things where I already knew what I wanted to do. And what really brought me to Major League Mindset was, first 3 years in high school, struggled when it came to baseball. And then going into senior year, a coach recommended a book called Heads Up Baseball, which I'm sure a lot of you all in the audience has heard of, by Dr. Ken Ravizza and Tom Hansen. Read that and it was like I was given this key to unlock myself. And then since that moment on, just became obsessed, trying to take the mental side of the game to just whole new levels. And as it's like, you're only going to get so far physically. So getting into my whole career, I've just been obsessed with it. And so when I retired, I knew I wanted to take the experience, the platform, the wisdom that I was given and pass it on to athletes. So really, to boil it down, it's just a single mission of empowering ball players of all ages with a mindset that helps them consistently show up as that best version of themselves on and off the field. So this isn't just on the field, but that's a quick snapshot of what got me here and exactly what I'm doing with Major League Mindset.
That's awesome. When you talk about being able to unlock it yourself, I mean, from a book, that's incredible. And we're going to get into that, but I want to give you a chance real quick to kind of share, what was your youth sports journey like in Virginia growing up?
Yeah, so played all sports. Very fortunate, my dad and mom, but I lived with my dad for the most part. Just, never pushed a certain sport. Just, hey, Brandon, go out. All I care about is that you're having fun. So basically went out, played every single sport you can think of, and actually enjoyed football the most. I didn't start playing football until I was in high school, but just fell in love with that sport. And that's when I got to high school. I played basketball, baseball, and football. And then as I was getting older, I realized, I think my future is probably baseball. So I continued to play them all, but just went all in. And to answer your question, my youth journey was very positive, and I'm, like I said, very grateful for the father I had and mom, and just they never put pressure. And going back to what I just said, like all they wanted me to do was have fun, and because of that, I feel like I had the ability, and I did play free and loose more consistently, and I just enjoyed it a lot more. So that's pretty much kind of how my youth sports went.
So Brandon, you talk about your parents being so encouraging, so positive, and not putting that pressure on you. But then you talk about how you struggled your first 3 years of playing high school baseball. So what was the reason do you think that you really had those struggles? What was a couple of keys?
Yeah, so I really thought I had the physical skills. It was just, they were just locked up inside of me. I think it was overall controlling my emotions, handling failure, fears getting in the way, lack of self-discipline, not having good routines that I could like count on and go to, especially when times weren't going good. And routines to, when the adversity and mistakes came, quickly bounce back. I didn't have any of that. So I was relying on pure physical talent. And yeah, I got away with it, I feel like, youth ball. But when you get to high school and you're starting to play varsity, you can only get away with it so much unless you are just freaks of freaks. And so those first 3 years, that potential was just lying dormant inside of me. And then training the mind, reading Heads Up Baseball, and not just reading it, not becoming a librarian with this knowledge. No, I like to say being a warrior and applying it and taking everything I learned. And then senior year, it was like I was given that key that went in and unlocked that other 30% that was sitting inside of there. And that key was the mindset. So those are the things for the most part that helped me back the most.
So Brandon, we love that. And, when I look at your website, you talk about your mission statement is really close to our mission statement, which is about helping kids become the best version of themselves. And of course you're focused on this mental aspect. I'm wondering how you see, we think that there are a lot of kids out there and parents who are focusing all their time and all their money on skill development. And yet the mental piece is so critical to becoming the best you can be. How do you see that? And when is the right time for parents and kids to be thinking about developing the right mental mindset?
Yeah, a great question. Really, I like to think of an equation: mental skills plus physical skills equals your true potential unlocked. One without the other. Can you, if you are very physically gifted and born with this natural, just God-given ability, way better than others, can you get by for a while? Yeah, but for the individual, if they want to truly have no regrets at the end of their career and make the most of what they are blessed with, then it comes down to you need that mental side. And really, I would say as early as possible. I have 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, and 4-year-old. The 4-year-old may be a little too young, but just starting with creating these habits, whether it's with body language, whether it's using their breath to get to the present moment, whether it's teaching them a flush it routine to flush away that negativity after striking out or making error in the field that's inevitable for all of us, whether it's having a one-word focus or being able to flip the switch into your best self when you don't feel super confident. All of these, it can be taught at a very simple at a young age, at a very simple level, and the earlier the better. And once again, I really don't think I would be here talking to you all if I didn't make that shift heading into senior year. And I'm very fortunate because it could have been too late and nothing would have came of it. Thank the good Lord, it worked out good. And that gave me this platform and all of that experience, all the ups and downs to now, hopefully spread the word and get out that let's start this stuff, this mental side of the game training of not just baseball and sports, but life. Because, I firmly believe that when individuals can become more well-rounded off the field, have higher character, humility, all of that, that's going to make them better suited to handle all the pressure, all the failure, all the challenges, all the adversity that's going to come with life, with school, with relationships. So helping them and getting across that, no matter what you're doing, it's going to be a tough road. And a saying that, the players I work with hear me say probably most is it's not supposed to be easy. So once they truly accept that and get it across that, whatever I'm going through, this is part of the process. It doesn't mean something's wrong with me. It means that I'm striving to be the best version of me and I'm battling dragons. So I'm going to get scars, but let's give them this mindset where they accept it, they wear those scars as medals, and they learn from them, and they rise stronger than ever. So, I know I'm kind of going on and on here, but 3 things that really, when I was younger, helped me so much in learning this is that we'll never be exonerated from 3 things in life. And those 3 things are pain, uncertainty, and hard work. So once we can get across to players that no matter how talented you are, no matter how good of a person you are and strive to be, no matter what you're doing, you're always going to have pain, uncertainty, and hard work. So embracing it, accepting it, and when they can do that, a couple things happen. They enjoy the process a lot more. So when they enjoy the process, they're going to be having more fun. They're going to be having more confidence and feel way less stress and pressure. And then that's going to lead them to playing free and loose consistently. When players can play free and loose, no matter what sport or what age, then those results come as a byproduct. So if they can enjoy the process, enjoy the ups and downs, and get the results. I don't know what else players could ask for, because if you are a player and you are simply chasing the results and you get them, but you aren't enjoying yourself, then what's the point of doing it? And that used to be me when I was younger, without a doubt. I was all after those extrinsic motivations. But once we can get into these players to become intrinsically motivated, just to be a better person, to, create meaningful relationships and be of service to something bigger than themselves, well, then the extrinsic things come, and then they're happier, and you get both sides of it. And their highs are higher and their lows are higher, both on and off the field. And who they used to be at their best, their prior best, is now their new baseline, and they level up. So that's a long way of me saying, if we can start them at a young age, very simple, very practical, give them tools to use in the moment when adversity comes, then boom, they just continue to level up, and they're well suited no matter what happens to them, on or off the field.
Let me ask you this. So talk to the coaches right now that are listening to this. You got a 12-year-old kid. You make a mistake. You make an error. You make a hold. I don't know. You make a charge in basketball, whatever sport it is. How do these coaches help these kids turn the next page? Just not self-inflict snowball the rest of the day. We talk about it all the time. I coach my daughter's softball team, man. It's like we have one girl on the team. She makes a mistake. She's done for the day. And what are a couple things coaches can do to help those kids flip the script, and also, let's keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is maybe the most important thing, that when it comes to the mental side of the game, obviously, if you ask any player, what do you want more of? They're all going to say confidence. But yeah, like when you make mistakes or you're not performing well, no matter what sport you're playing, they rely on that stuff, so their confidence is low. So how can we get that to where they create that confidence in the moment and can eat up literally everything that comes their way? Because whether what I'm doing or any other great mental performance or mental strength coach is doing, it's not to make fear and adversity and mistakes and errors and all of this stuff magically disappear. It's to help them eat it up and use it all as fuel. So to answer your question, I think great ways for that are just having these tools. So like a mental tool is something that it's basically they have it ready at hand, and whether it's your breath, a flush it routine, a one-word focus, a focal point sticker, a couple things I'll explain in a second. You have these tools to go to change your mental state in the moment. And the mental state is really their confidence, their body language, their attitude, their focus, their self-talk. Do you have tools to, when you make a mistake, or coaches, when your players make a mistake, have you gone over tools with them to really stop that spiral that's going to happen, and then help them spiral back up, not next game, but right then, right now. So I think hands down, the number one tool is their breath, to really bring about, center themselves, connect to the best within them, and really just get them back to the present moment where they're not in the past or the future. The breath is the MVP of everything I cover. And there's a reason. So this wristband that says breathe on it, I wore it when I played because it was always that reminder I could go and look at and touch, and reminder to use the breath. Because no matter what mental tool we're talking about, it's one thing to know them and train them. It's another thing in the heat of battle or competition to remember to use them. And that's why having something like a wristband that reminds you to breathe, having a focal point sticker that is good to put under a hat, or I don't have the hat here, or good to put on your bat, to remind you when you look at it to take that breath and get back to the present moment. So, Jeff, real quick. So the breath, I think, helping them and reminding them, take that deep breath. I like to call it a big league breath. Having a one-word focus where it's one word that has a lot of meaning to them. And, for example, it could be presence. It could be gratitude. It could be warrior. It could be undeniable. It's all different for players, but when they have that one word and then they say it, well, then it's a great tool to change their mental state right then, right there. And to end it, it's actually interesting. Josh Young, the third baseman for the Rangers, has a what he called flush it routine, and he actually goes down underneath and flushes a toilet. So having a set routine, if for these coaches to get across to their players, okay, something bad happens, which is going to happen. let's get rid of it, because mental bricks will weigh you down just like if you're carrying a lot of physical bricks, they're going to weigh you down too. So how can you get rid of them as quickly as possible? So literally, when something happens, in the moment, just becoming very good at learning what you could have done differently. And then once you got everything you could out of it, literally just picture a toilet. And I would do this sometimes when I played. Like if I made an error or if I struck out, I would just kind of picture a toilet and flushing it away. Like get what you can out of it, and then it's gone forever. So that's another good routine for coaches and for players to have if and when, that adversity comes by.
Man, I love that. And guys, for parents who are out there listening to us, and I know you were talking about coaches, but I'm finished with my journey with my kids, and what I saw in my kids and also in lots of kids, what you said. I mean, half the kids out there just have a proclivity to do something wrong and they lose it, and they just tune out. And so I would just tell parents, I wish I could do this over again, because I thought, well, my kid will grow out of that. And eventually I gave them some tools, but I wished I had done it 3 or 4 years earlier, because they're not going to just grow out of it. It's going to carry on into every aspect of life.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Brandon, when you kind of read the book when you were going into your senior year in high school, was there an aha moment, or was it a process that you kind of saw yourself getting better mentally into how your approach for the game?
Yes, that's a great question. I don't know if there was an aha moment. I think slowly but surely the game slowed down and my mind slowed down. But I truly believe that, building mental muscle is just like building physical muscle. It's a process. It's not overnight. And if players put the time and effort into it, not hours a day, but 1% of the day is 14 minutes and 24 seconds. So trying to get across, can you just hit up that mind gym for 1% of the day, and know that when you build and you work on your inside, then it shows on the outside. So personally, heading into senior year, like I said, I feel like I got to a lot of that potential sitting inside of me. But then, I got to University of Virginia my first year in 2005. And, I just assumed that this is kind of like riding a bike. I read a couple books. I trained it. I'm good. So I actually stopped. I didn't do a whole lot that first year at UVA, and struggled mightily. Like, all of this stuff, just like the physical side, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I guess that was an aha moment for me actually, is, oh, wow, I can't just train it and then I'm good to go. Like, just continuing to train it and stick to that process is everything.
You talk to the athletes a little bit that are listening. You get big moments in games. You've been there, man. You've done it. You've been up in the biggest of the moments. How do you slow yourself down to be able to, and not just, again, because this podcast is for all sports, whether it's gymnastics, whether it's, lacrosse. How do you slow yourself down in those moments? And I know you hear everybody say, like you talked about, breathe, but how can you just remind yourself, though, because those happen so quick, and sometimes, for myself, I wish I could go back so many times and call a timeout, take 10 seconds, step out of the box, because it just happens so quick.
Mm-hmm. So true. So true. I think having a set pre-pitch routine or pre-shot routine or pre-lift routine, whatever you're doing that's about to be your moment is absolutely huge. So it can be, really think of it as 2 to 3 keys to keep things simple and keep you locked in on the present moment. So, I think it all starts for sure with the breath. I like to call it a magic pill that gets you to the present moment, slows the game down. So it starts with your breath. And then maybe you have a set mental cue that you go to that gets you right. And then I think the last part is the most important, and that's your final thought. And I remember Derek Jeter said a quote something along the lines of, the last thing you think is the first thing you do. So whether it's golfing, baseball, basketball, the last thing you think is most likely the first thing you're going to do. So having that last thought be super powerful and super positive. So for me, my pre-pitch routine was something, I don't have my bat, but I'd hold up my bat and look at a little speck on the barrel and take a breath. Then I'd get in the box, and my mental cue was slow and early to get that good timing and get in sync with the pitcher. And then my final thought was always my approach. So it was either, line drive, right center field, or, up the middle, depended on the pitcher and the situation. But more so than anything, I think it's having that pre-shot or pre-pitch, pre-anything you do routine and ending it with something very powerful. That might be the most important thing we talk about today. So a lot of times players, when they're in these big moments, they think about what they hope doesn't happen. And those are called, and Ken Ravizza in this book, he called those hidden missions. And that always stuck with me because when I was struggling, whether it's in high school or even later in my career, if I wasn't careful, I'm 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. I get, oh man, I don't want to strike out again. I hope I just put it in play. We tend to think about what we don't want to happen or what we hope doesn't happen. So we want that positive priming where we are just thinking about what we want to happen, not what we hope doesn't happen. So we can either have hidden missions or be a man or woman on a mission. So once again, to answer your question, finally, I think it's that pre-whatever routine and then ending with a great, powerful thought.
I like that. Now it makes sense why on 17 at my golf course I hit it in the water every darn time. Because there's no doubt I'm like, do not hit this ball in the water.
And then what happens, you do, or just like my first year at UVA, I went in, Ryan Zimmerman was third baseman. They moved into shortstop. I came in as a third baseman. They put me at third. I would make an error. What was my self-talk after that? Oh, I hope the ball's not hit to me. I don't want to make another error. And then the ball finds you, you make another error. So one of the most important things is obviously self-talk, but what you say to yourself in the moment right before whatever you are doing.
No doubt.
Hey, Brandon, you had a pretty big moment in the World Series. Tell our audience about that moment and how you got yourself in the right place for that.
Yeah, so it started way before the game with visualization. Visualization was a tool for me that was very, very powerful and helped me go in with a lot of confidence, especially if I was facing a pitcher I'd never faced, such as Aroldis Chapman in the 2016 World Series. I was a platoon hitter most of my career, but somehow I never faced him. So, Game 7, bottom of the 8th, 2 outs, I came up against him, and the biggest at bat of my career, millions of people watching, but I never felt more free and loose and more in the moment. And literally I'm up there doing my pre-pitch routine and just like smiling because it felt like I had been there, because I had been hundreds of times in my head, whether it's in the locker room, doing it before a game, whether it's in a hotel room, whether it's back home, putting myself in different situations, knowing I would have a big moment against them at some point in the World Series. So when I got down 0-2, good. I've been here in my head. I got back in there and worked it back to 3-2, came through with a line drive double to right center field. And then the biggest home run arguably in baseball history up there, when Rajai Davis hit that home run, the very next batter. Didn't visualize that, but man, that was beautiful to see. And yeah, so it goes back to doing the pre-pitch routine, but even more so before that, visualization before the game, and then flipping the switch. I like to call it best, worst self animals, helping these athletes create this identity of who they are at their best, but more importantly, what do they do that helps them show up at their best? So for me, I like my best self animal, kind of like Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba. I consider myself a hungry lion. So as my name's called, I have this flip the switch process, which is another great routine for athletes. Basically, you're flipping that switch, embodying that best version of you, and then carrying yourself like that best version of you would. So I did that walking to the plate. So there was a lot that went into it. As it's way before you actually get in the box.
So, Brandon, you've had the privilege of working with a lot of amazing professional baseball players. Would you say, like, the great players, is this something that they kind of were born with, an ability to mentally look at the game differently, or do you think all of them have had to work at it and really hard, and it's kind of a nature versus nurture type question, I guess?
That's a great question. I think that just like the physical side, think of Mike Trout, LeBron James. Some players out there are physically just born freaks, but it's what you do with that. So if you aren't physically born like them, okay, what are you doing with everything you were born with? So yes, some people are born at different levels, but it's those that have that fixed mindset that think, oh, what I have, especially on the mental side, whether it's confidence, focus, discipline, or toughness, oh man, this is just what I have. I'm stuck with it. It's set in stone. or we have this growth mindset where we know with effort and persistence, we can continue to grow and get closer and closer to that wall that is our true potential. So just like the physical side, some people are born ahead with maybe confidence and abilities to focus. But I think that without a doubt, the best of the best train it. And, LeBron James has a commercial for Calm. He says, like, the greats master the body, the greatest master the mind. So while you might look at these physical, like, talented players way above everybody else, they're putting the work in, whether you know it or not, or whether they talk about it or not. They're putting that work in on the mental side to really be great and show up at their best on a consistent basis, I think.
We're finishing up here in about, we got about 5 more minutes with you, Brandon, but talk a little bit about Major League Mindset, just like who you work with, what's the age gap, and how is it different working sport to sport?
Yeah. So right now I am very just honed in on baseball and softball. I do work with other players and with other sports, but for the most part, just really locked in on them. And it's, whether it's youth players, whether it's high school, college, or big leaguers, I really developed a system that not just from my playing experience. Like I took all of that, but then, training and working with some of the greats when I played during my career, when it comes to mental performance, taking all of their knowledge and putting it together into a set system, which is 8 milestones, and basically have a 90-page, workbook here that really helps them, get all that knowledge and sink in by seeing visually and how to really go about, whether it's routines or, what I really think is the most important part of everything we could ever talk about is controlling the controllables, like helping them become great with that, which I think is the number one skill for all athletes, but really all people, is just not just be good, but great with controlling what's in their control. And so whether it's my 8U Suns travel team, which we don't even need to get into why there's 8U travel, but because I was able to coach and put like these core values that this is what it's going to be like about, and winning is last, and they accepted it. I was like, okay, I'll coach and he'll do it. But that's a whole nother story. But just getting across to them at an early age, be relentless with what's in your control. If you want what's out of your control, such as a high batting average, all these strikeouts, wins, championships, play varsity, D1 scholarship, get to the big leagues. If you want what's out of your control, you have to be excellent with what's in your control. That's the secret to getting what's out of your control. So I know I kind of went off there, but that is I would argue, the foundation of everything at Major League Mindset, helping them just become great with their responses to all that life and sports really throw at them.
So Brandon, how do people find that material?
So they can go to brandonguyer.com. All the social media is just my name, Brandon Guyer, or Major League Mindset. I try to put out a ton of just free content, whether it's on social media or blogs or whatever it is, just trying to, like I said, give back everything I was blessed to have had during my, what I like to call gauntlet of a journey, and give it back to these players. Because something I learned a long time ago is the difference between expensive and inexpensive experience. So expensive experience is when you have to go through the grind yourself, which we're all going to have to, no matter what age or sport we play, or even if we play sports or not. But inexpensive experience is when you can learn from those who have already been through it. So that's what I want to be, inexpensive experience for all these players. I've been through it all. I've experienced anything they could think of on the mental and physical side of the game. So give them that inexpensive experience when they're on their journey. And once again, help them enjoy the process, but at the same time, get better results than they ever have.
Man, we thank you so much. I want one more question and we'll let you go. And it might rehash a little bit, but what's your best piece of advice to parents and coaches out there to let their kids, as you said, enjoy playing the game?
A mantra, very powerful mantra. It's called execution over expectations. When players can go in with that mindset, and parents too, and coaches, where the only thing they should expect out of themselves is to execute what's 100% in their control. So execution over expectations. These kids go in at all ages. And I'm starting to notice with these 8-year-olds where there's like all these expectations put on them to, I got to get certain hits or pitch this way or whatever it is. And then you just see them getting so tight and tense. So if they are just focused on execution over expectations, then they're having more confidence, more fun, less pressure, less stress, and they're playing free and loose on a consistent basis. And because they are cultivating a true win or learn mindset, not just saying it. They're cultivating, oh, I go into competition, I'm going to win, and I worked hard. If I win, I'm going to celebrate and be proud of myself. But if I don't, I know I'm not going to win all the time. I'm going to learn. I'm not losing. I'm going to learn. And then that experience right there, if I truly learn from it, I'm going to rise and grow stronger than ever and use it to help me in the future. So I think it really turns into win or win. So Jeff, I would just end with saying execution over expectations can really help players, parents, and coaches.
Man, I love
Great.
Great stuff, man.
I'll tell you what, man, we thank you very much for joining us today. And we are going to make sure our listeners get on and get some of that stuff, man, at BrandonGuyer.com, because that is awesome.
Yeah, we may want you back sometime.
Yeah, I was
we
gonna
could
say.
go another hour easy.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. I would love to. And thank you all for what you guys are doing to spread the word on this is more important than anything, especially nowadays. So
Yeah,
I appreciate
you're right.
you all.
Thanks,
Grateful.
Brandon.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Brandon.
you joining us.
Great.
Take care.
Thank you all.
Hey guys, Jeff Francoeur here. Thanks for checking out Pure Athlete, and subscribe to our channel on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you go to listen to our podcast.